when I read the title of your book, I was like, everything else I was reading stopped. Because I was like, I have got to learn how to, because your book is not just a book, it's also like it's a workbook. There's tools, and I love too that right at the beginning, very upfront, you say, this is meant for you to find out, try the techniques, keep what works and disregard the rest. You're not trying to sell the whole thing as you have to do all of these for it to work. You're very transparent in, here's the tools that I've discovered or found. Here's some things that I've worked with myself. Some of these might work for you and some of them won't. It's up to you to. So I love that. It's like this working resource. And I was so drawn to, okay, I can be OCD. I am OCD. I've got very high anxiety. At times it's much higher than other times. And at times I love it. I need it. I thrive in that very highly anxious, that environment is where I thrive. And actually it's where I'm a writer. Some of my best creative work comes out of that environment. But then there's this other point or these other areas of life where it's like almost debilitating. So when you say you get this nervous energy, this anxiety, and work it to actually help, to keep it as that thing that's sort of like a tool, a skill to help you, moving forward and self-promotion and just, doing better, accomplishment and success. I'm like, I need this. And I think a lot of people can connect with that. It's like, because once you start, not that single people that have their life together don't have it, but once you start incorporating spouses and children and jobs and houses and mortgages and responsibilities, if you're already a little OCD and anxious, that just it's this building thing. So how do we take, I love it all.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, and I hear what you're saying as well, just about the fact that it's something that high functioning people do is they keep on taking on more, right? Because we like a challenge, we can get bored, or we have what psychologists sometimes call a high need for achievement. We have a drive of accomplishment and we enjoy that. So then almost by definition, we are going to be, just taking on more. And so what used to work, say in college of, maybe just double checking all your answers or whatever, when you had the bandwidth to do that, that's fine. But when you're a partner at a law firm and you're managing 6 cases, that old strategy may not necessarily work. Another thing that I thought was interesting is that a lot of people, I think, who have this nervous energy, maybe they do really well in high school and college because their executive lobe, I think the reason, is not fully formed yet. And so they might, just have, maybe really, really harsh self-talk or something that they almost need, because the executive lobe is the part that thinks ahead and strategizes and things. And so they almost need that iron fist of saying, your life's not going to go anywhere if you don't write this essay. And on a certain level, that might be true in, high school. And so they have to, use that level of focus. But then once their executive lobe fully forms and they actually have a little bit more, control over their focus, but they're still using those old tools, that's when they start to develop a mismatch. And that's when some of the tools in my book can be helpful for them.
Define first, or tell us what is, when you say a high functioning individual, because I can sort of hear people listening thinking, is high functioning ADD, is high functioning OCD, clarify for us high functioning and how that kind of the relationship or differences between high functioning and what is often diagnosed as ADD.
Sure. So by high functioning, I would just say probably more people out there are high functioning than they even realize. And you don't even have to have a diagnosis. It's not necessarily like, oh, you're a high functioning, ADHD person. You could be somebody with ADHD who's also very high functioning, or you could be somebody that doesn't have any kind of a, diagnosis at all. Many of the clients in my office don't have any diagnosis. They're just coming to me because, they're a high functioning person. And what is that? In psychology terms, a high-functioning person is really somebody who is able to meet the basics of, being responsible for, say, food, clothing, shelter. They can set an alarm clock and get somewhere on time. They can organize their life on a certain basic level. They have at least a couple of decent relationships with other people. They're not, constantly in and out of, inpatient psychiatric hospitalizations. They're not at risk of harm to self or others. They're just living what many people would think of as a normal life. And then maybe they're going a little bit beyond that, right? So then, maybe they also like to read self-improvement books, or, maybe they also volunteer, or they're active in their church or whatever. If you're doing all of those things, or, just things along those lines, even like, you're having dinner parties, or, if you're a parent, you're monitoring your kids' screen time, or, you're going that little extra step beyond just in general in life. In psychology, that's when we start to look at you as a high-functioning person. And a lot of high-functioning people don't realize that they're high-functioning because they just get together with their friends for Sunday brunch and they think everybody's like them, and they don't realize that not everybody is.